And welcome back. And as I was about to say a minute ago, my guest today is somebody that's been on my radio show before, and we've shared a subject that was near and dear to me, dyslexia. I was born with dyslexia. We didn't know what it was back in the 50s, so they put me on the dumb row through most of my grade school years. But my guest, Durant Fleming, has made it his kind of life's calling is to educate people about dyslexia. He went to Christian Brothers High School, survived that. Grade school was very tough because you don't realize somebody has that dyslexia until you start seeing them not perform the way other people perform.
Right.
And I had brothers and sisters. I'm assuming you did too.
Oh, yeah.
And they made straight A's, and I'm over there going, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. But they said,
Absolutely.
but you've come across, in every other aspect, you seem very normal, and you're able to perceive. Your audio skills are good. Your athletic ability. Although learning the football plays is a real challenge for me.
Left and right can be a challenge.
You've written a number of books. This was his first book, and I'm going to hold this up over. I don't know if Beth can get that or not. Deep Well, but you got it. It's back. And it is called Splendid Agony, Celebrating Dyslexia. And one of the chapters in it that I'm most identified with was first things, some help, well, it's not right there, surviving another day in my first attempt at the third grade. Is that it? Or
surviving another day in third grade. Yeah.
Mine was, Lord, if I could just get out of the third grade. So what was when did you realize that you were dyslexic?
Yeah. That's a great question, Earl. First of all, thanks for having me back.
Oh, I enjoyed the last time.
Yeah, that was a productive conversation, and part of why I do what I do is just to raise general awareness in the American population as to what this is and where are we now in the evolution of this academically. But also, I do a lot of work with teachers, and I do a lot of work with parents, and anything I can do to help equip, support, encourage. That's why I do what I do. Matter of fact, I retired early to do this, and I'm glad I did because it's been incredibly fulfilling. When did I know?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because there's all kinds of myths with dyslexia. I mean, sometimes people will ask me, when did you know something was wrong with you? Well, that's an interesting way to put it, and we're moving away from that kind of language. But there is a time in your life as a young person when you look around in the class, and it may be first grade, be second grade, because before second grade, it's a lot of naps and big pencils, and you're drawing, and there's chocolate milk, and there's not a lot of academic pressure.
Yes.
But when you start getting into third grade and you start reading, that's when the shoe drops.
And mathematics.
And I was going there,
Yeah.
mathematics. I remember hearing people pop off the answers to multiplication tables under a time situation in my class. Teacher would hold up a multiplication card, give them about 5-10 seconds, and you had to just come up with it. She'd go down the rows. And I remember, Earl, sitting there looking around. This is a long answer to your short question.
No,
I remember looking around going, how do they do this? This is like magic.
That's exactly what I thought. I said, how do they know?
Yeah. The way these numbers interlock, the way they come up with answers so quickly, I was just at a loss. And what I did is I masked. That's what it's called in the dyslexic world, masking. I just became the average student who looked like they knew what he was doing. You know what I mean?
So just keep nodding your head.
No, nod your head.
Sit there. Oh, good call.
Yeah, books on your desk, passing papers. You got a pencil behind your ear.
But eventually they come to you.
The shoe drops. And I was in third grade, and we were going up and down the rows reading a paragraph. Everybody had a similar reading book. Everybody had the book, and we're going up and down the rows, and everybody's reading a paragraph at a time. And I'm counting how many students until it gets to me.
Yeah.
And I'm counting the paragraphs. See, this is why dyslexics are crafty. They can work a problem. They're adaptive.
Yeah.
And so I'm counting the paragraphs. I'm counting down to my paragraph, and I'm trying to figure out what this thing means while it's getting to me. My moment of reckoning is coming. And so when it got to me, I did what most dyslexics would do. I just jazz. I just went pure jazz. I started going, look, we got a problem here. Timmy lost his dog. Sally's upset, and you know what that's like. She's got to take care of her too. And the dog's somewhere We got a problem. We got a problem. And I said, okay, next. And, okay, so what I did is I just freestyled.
Yeah.
I know I freestyled where I think we are in the story, and then gave it to the guy behind me. We broke for recess. We're walking to recess, and the teacher came over to me. This is where it gets just pretty serious.
Yep.
Doing what I do is not always easy. She came up to me and tapped me on the shoulder. She said, "Are you having challenges reading?" She knew what she was saying. She'd been waiting for that time for a long time. And I knew, Earle, if I said yes, my life was going to change. I knew the wheels of change were going to turn.
You feel like there's something wrong with you.
Yeah. And here's the tension that a third grader is in sometimes who has dyslexia. I can be known, and there's a risk to that, or I can remain unknown, and there's a risk to that. And I risk to be known because I knew that's where help was coming from.
I didn't know where it was going to come from. I was hoping it was coming from somebody. I know that on my first day in the first grade, we lived about a block away from the grade school.
Yeah.
I get there, and we go through the morning. Miss Childs was the teacher. And I listened, and I had my big chief notebook and my number 2 pencil. And finally they said, it's time for lunch. And so she said, this is what we're going to do. We're all going to line up in our rows and turn around and then take a right out the door. And we're going to walk down to the cafeteria. So everybody stood up, got in line. I was at the back of the line. And everybody went out, took a right down the walkway. And I just kept going straight to my house and went home.
Yeah.
My mother said, what are you doing here? I said, I gave it a shot, Mom, but it ain't for me.
Can't do it.
I just this is I don't know what they're even talking about.
Yeah. Or one time in 4th grade, we were given a timed multiplication test, and it was a quiz, and she was verbally giving the question 7 times 8, 4 times 7, 3 times, and giving you about 10 seconds to write it on a piece of paper, and just notebook paper 1 through 10 on the left-hand column, nothing on the paper to look at. So I'm visually, dyslexics are very visual, so I'm not seeing. I can't see the problem, and it's under time.
Yeah.
And I got behind. All of a sudden, I couldn't hear her talk. All of a sudden, I couldn't breathe. I got up like a man on fire and just went straight out that doorway. And I'm out in the hallway trying to catch my breath. And she comes out and says, Durant, are you okay? I said, no, I'm not okay. Who would do this to children?
Very perceptive.
Who would do this to children? And I think back on that, and that shows you the level of misfit as far as an academic approach or just an education approach to students this age. But we've come a long way. We've come a long way.
It is torture. When we moved to Canada, I was in the 7th grade, and we were doing long division and decibels or something. I get to Canada, and they're doing algebra. And so they were finishing up with their year, and I met some people. They said, come to school with us today. We'd love to have you and talk about where you're from. Yeah. And so the teacher thought, let's see how he does in math. Oh, and not only had I never seen algebra before, so she's up there. She works this place. Said, what does this mean? I said, we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah. When I was in about 4th or 5th grade, in the early 70s, right around 70, 71, there was a push to change our measuring system in America to metric. Do you remember that? There was a
yes.
push for us to become. I had just figured out
decimals,
the American system, and I was hanging on by my fingernails just to get our math down. Then they're talking about shifting the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I just went, okay, I'll just leave.
Yeah. Where do they not do this?
Yeah. Well, I did when I did run away. I shared that with you on the last time we were together. One thing I didn't share with you is when I hit about 14, I was in middle school, and I was holding down. I was working as hard as I could. Very fine school, very good college preparatory school, and I'm holding down a 1.5 GPA.
And happy with it.
Working as hard as I can.
Yeah.
Now, I got 3 brothers. They all went to Ivy League schools. One went to Harvard on a full ride. Those are the waters my family was swimming in. I was the guy looking for, like, my binder for my. And so I went to my father. I'm about 14. I said, I figured it out. I'm tunneling out. I know how I'm going to get out of this thing called school. He said, what are you going to do? And my mother was there, and I said, I'm joining the French Foreign Legion. And I was serious. I'd seen a movie, March or Die, and I go, that's for me. And so I told them that. I proclaimed. I mean, I went in there with some purpose and said, this is, parents, what I'm doing. And my dad said, you have to learn French. That would be amazing experience, but and my mother's going, don't say that.
Yeah. He might pull that off.
And so, but I was not kidding. If I could find something that was an amazing journey that I was curious or passionate about, that took me out of school, give me that all day long. And finally, they had to persuade me, you're 14, you're almost 15, you have to be, I don't know what it is, like 18 to join, you got to know French. So they talked me out of it, but it was an option.
Because you were looking for a way out. You had tried everything. I'm sure your parents had tried everything to help you learn how to study and what was going wrong here. My mother did the same thing. We worked, and
it's trial and error too. It's trial and error.
And then report cards would come out, and before they opened them up at their dinner table, that was before we ate. They should have at least waited till afterwards. And Dad goes, "Well, how do you think you did?" I said, "Yeah, I think I really pulled it off this time." And he said, "Well, let's see." Open it up, and he goes, D, D, F, D, D. And I'm going, that's pretty much what I thought I was going to.
He gave it everything you got.
Yeah. But he always said, too, never cheat, never steal, never lie. And I would always remind him, well, it's obviously I did not cheat. And he go, well, that's true. And let's talk about your books and why, because you went through all this, I went through all this, and it is agony. It is agony. And as it turns out, we weren't unable to learn. It was how they were trying to teach us mainstream as opposed to here are the tricks to help you.
Absolutely.
And so you went through school, went to graduate school. Did that amaze you? Your brothers and sisters, Ivy League, but you probably think, if I could just get out of high school, because that's how I felt.
Yeah.
And then I went to college, and then I got jobs, and then I kept getting better jobs, and I'm thinking, it's amazing the trip I took, but how much easier would it have been had I not gone through this, or at least knew something about it?
Right. Well, that's a long answer, but I'm going to get right to it. Dyslexics can, serious critical thinkers, 360-degree problem solving, really creative in approaches, can see problems in 3 dimensions, really powerful thinkers, but they've got to get over the wall of academics, which is usually elementary school, junior high. Mm-hmm. If they can learn how they learn, okay, that's a mouthful right there. That's a whole nother book. If they can learn how they learn rather than what's being pushed on them, and they start gaining traction. By the time they're in high school, they're starting to cook with gas.
Yeah.
I hit a 3.0 for the first time in my life about halfway through high school, and I never looked back.
Because you learn how to do it.
Yeah, once you learn how you learn, I know some dyslexic young people that I've worked with that when you see them learn how to learn, it's just this wave of dignity comes over them, and a wave of freedom comes over them, and all of a sudden, they're academic savages. They can't be stopped.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see. Now, I'm not saying all dyslexics have that level of aptitude for studying or that kind of dedication to academia, but those who do, once they get the tools, see, that's the $64,000 question. Yeah. How do you get them the tool? Once they get the tools, they can do some profound things. And all you have to do is look at a large percentage of entrepreneurs in the world today. There's a disproportionate number of them are dyslexic. And
very, very successful. I know that I was in the 5th grade when I made 100 on my first spelling test that I made 100 on. Uh-huh. And the entire class gave me a standing ovation. And that does have a profound effect on me. And it was such a thrill, but I hated that they gave me a standing ovation. Yeah. I just wanted to make the 100.
Yeah, you don't want to be called out. Yeah. When the opposite happened to me, I made on an altitude trig exam, I did very, very well. And the reason why I was in high school, and my younger brother, who's about 20 months younger than I am, we took a lot of the same courses. So he tutored me. He was really smart. He tutored me, and I went in there and did well on this test. Instead of standing ovation, I got pulled off after class, and I was accused of cheating.
Wow.
Because dyslexics don't do this.
Yeah.
And I just had to restrain myself.
Well,
But that's part of the journey. That's part of the journey.
well, and speaking of restraining yourself, I also went through the same thing. It was when people would challenge me or call me a dummy or something, I became very angry.
Yeah.
And even with people I knew that were going to beat me up,
Yeah.
I still went after them, and I found that they never called me an idiot or dumb again.
No, you got to fix it, and that's part of the.
But you have to keep doing that.
I know.
Every school you change, you got to let them know. I may be dumb, but I can kick you, or at least I'll hurt you.
Yeah, I got more than a couple calls home from the office because of scraps I got in for that very reason. Somebody call you a moron.
Yeah.
That's not going to stand. That
No.
will not. That's an instant fight.
Yeah.
And I would tell the administrators, they said, why did you hit Steve in the lunch line? I said, he called me a moron. And I'm going to do it again tomorrow if he does it again. I mean, I made no excuses.
But I bet they didn't do it again, did they?
No, they made sure they kind of buffered this and but they realized they're dealing with a student who's at his wit's end, and he's not going to. I was the only defender of my own dignity.
Yep. There was no big brother around. There were no. Although I did start in high school, started making friends with the biggest guys in the class.
I've never heard that.
And because I said,
Yeah.
if stuff starts happening, because I knew I was going to get more scrapes.
Right.
But if I had my friends were big guys.
Right.
And then there was somebody that could help me out. And
But what a way to, think about what a way to spend your 4th, 5th, 6th grade. I
Yeah.
mean, really, that's all that intellectual, emotional, psychological complication is part of the dyslexic experience.
you even feel like your parents are against you because they don't believe you're trying. And you're trying, but it's just. In fact, I got glasses in the 5th grade, and I figured out why I never understood what she was doing on the blackboard. I couldn't see the blackboard.
Yeah.
And she's writing stuff, and does everybody understand that? Well, you're not going to go, no.
Right. Well, I was very, very fortunate in that both my parents are kind of academicians. My mother was an English teacher. My father was a surgeon, professor of medicine. They were both really astute and really creative people, and they saw this early on. So I didn't get the home was my refuge. School was Hades.
Yeah. Until I figured it out. By the time I got to high school, I absolutely I never missed a day. I didn't. People play hooky to go to the pool hall. And said, the girls are in school. Why would we go to the pool hall?
Right.
And so I absolutely loved school, so that totally turned around. But it would be, and part of your deal is the books you write were for parents and now teachers. Because they have to be able to recognize it.
They have to. The books. There's a logical progression in this trilogy. The whole trilogy is called the Splendid Agony trilogy. The first one is called Celebrating Dyslexia. The second one is called Unleashing Dyslexia, and the third one is called Engaging Dyslexia. And so there's a thematic spine through the whole thing. And the first book is really to anyone who wants to learn about dyslexia, particularly those in the academic world.
And that is this one.
Yes, that's him. And that is for administrators, teachers, parents, reading specialists, learning specialists. For anybody who wants to learn more about dyslexia, that book, that's the catch-all. Then the second book.
Well, I love the cover shot.
Oh, it's sending the signal that everything's okay.
Yes.
Let's study and have a good time. The second book is called Unleashing Dyslexia. It's specifically for parents, and here we go. It's specifically for parents, and at the end of each chapter, there's questions for parents if they want to get together with another parent as a dyslexic child, they can discuss the questions. They can work through these questions. It gives them all kinds of ideas about how to attack this. And I really drew heavily from my own parents because they figured something out. It was a very potent idea they had, is that they were going to encourage me to get involved with things I'm passionate about, things I am curious about, things that take a lot of hard work and learning, but they're not academic. This is when you get into non-academic endeavors that really can change the life of a young person, and that's when you really start seeing a young dyslexic. They're learning because they're internally motivated. They're growing because they're internally motivated.
They're passionate about something actually motivates them to do whatever you have to do to
and they
learn
start
that.
studying it. For me, it was fishing. Before I knew it, my parents, I was so hungry about fishing. They were giving me Ernest Hemingway's
The Old Man
of the Sea, and I'm reading it, and I don't even know I'm learning because it has to do with fishing.
Absolutely.
And so it's a side door into learning. And a lot of the disciplines and curiosity and passion, that starts seeping over into academics. And that's where the dyslexic goes, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can do this. So it's a very potent address for parents and their children.
For teachers, what do you write about when because every year it's a different class, they come in the door, everybody's equal, and then they start seeing signs. What are the signs that they need to be seeing and recognizing?
Great question. Great. That teachers, early teachers, pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, they are the catchers in the rye. They're the ones. That's the safety net.
That's the gatekeeper.
That's the safety net under the circus folk who are flying around. I mean, it is so important for them to be equipped to be able to see this. A lot of it has to do with a real quick and dirty way to do it is who is left-handed in your room and start watching them, because a disproportionate number of left-handed children are dyslexic. In an open universe of people, about 10% are left-handed people. And with dyslexia, that can go up to 50%. Wow. 50. And that's through research. And so if you start watching your lefties, that's a good thing to do. Another one, start watching people that look like they don't know what's going on, but they're trying. They're fumbling for the book that everybody already has on their desk. They're not raising their hand because they don't want to get called on, and then they raise it right when someone else gets called on.
Then you put it up.
Yes. And those are little tells.
Because they're little con people.
The best.
Yeah.
No, the best. Their job is to stay off the radar and don't get isolated and figured out. And so they're very good with people skills. They're very observant, very observant. Another one to look for is not matching sounds with sights well. Like you say the SH sound, and they keep saying it incorrectly. Or saying words with the wrong letter. Instead of saying stop, they're saying stob.
Wow.
And it just keeps coming out. It just keeps coming. And that has to do with the portion of the brain that processes information. And we process information different. It's not a deficit. This is interesting. If a coroner could tell by autopsy whether a person was dyslexic or not.
Really?
Because of structures in their brain. Yeah. Now, we didn't know this 15 years ago. This world's changing. And the neurologists would say there's nothing wrong with their brain. There's no deficit, there's no injury, there's no deformation, there's nothing lacking. Everything's there, but there's some different structures that make them that way. And it's not wrong. And so it's almost like dyslexia is a little bit like being left-handed in regard to it's a neurological function that is an anomaly for the rest of the population, but there's nothing wrong. What's wrong is when we put dyslexics in an education system that's not built for them. That's the problem. Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, you hear all the time he's in the spectrum.
Yeah.
Which covers a huge spectrum. But dyslexics really aren't considered part of the spectrum.
Well, within dyslexia, this is where it gets to assess and to identify dyslexics. It can get tricky because there is a spectrum of degree. For instance, I talked to somebody earlier today. They say, you know what, I didn't know if I'm dyslexic or not. I think I am. They're an adult, and they said, I keep flipping numbers around. I've done it all my life. I do it all the time, and I might be dyslexic. See, he's never been identified. It was not a major problem for him with math and reading. He just has that proclivity. Whereas on that same spectrum, you may get somebody at the deep end who has profound issues with processing sounds, glyphs, letters, and reading is almost impossible. I thought reading, Earle, might not be for me. I really did. There was a time when I just went, I'm glad these people enjoy it. I'm glad they're learning how to do it. But to me, it was like learning German or something. I was just like, I don't know if I can do this. Does that make sense? And but the tools are now, we're changing that. We're changing this language.
Well, something happened with me is that, and I don't know how it happened, but all of a sudden I was recognizing the words for what they sounded like. It's hard to describe. If I read it, the guy picked up an axe and chopped into this big, huge bear trying to attack him. Mm-hmm. And I would look at it and read it, and I would see different things, but I would follow the course of the sentence, and I'd go, I bet that means this, without seeing that. Yeah. But it was an and and a the.
You're using context. You're using context.
And so, which also I learned, because I took speed reading. I remember you took speed reading as well. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why I did it. I just thought I could read faster. And this was in high school. And what it really taught me to do is skip past all of that and go to the meat of the sentence.
Get to it.
Yeah. And that's how I really learned after that is to this day, I skim. And Kathy's always, did you read that? I go, yeah. What about the part about this? I skipped over that.
Yeah. And that was an adaptation for you.
Yeah.
That was a straight-up adaptation. Yeah.
I think that the part that I really want to get across to parents is that this is not a bad thing. And it shaped my life. It pointed me in a direction like everybody said, why didn't you go into the newspaper? I said, because I have dyslexia. And you think I'm going to go right? Then I get into TV and everything's great until they came up with closed captioning for the hearing impaired. Right. Then I had to start writing, transcribing my entire story. Yeah. And they're going, Earle, you're misspelling everything. I said, that's what I do.
You bumped into the text world.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Right. Things are changing, and this is an exciting time, because to use deficit language now in the academic world is a faux pas. It's a no-no. People don't suffer from dyslexia. That used to be said.
Yeah.
You suffer from, no, we don't suffer from dyslexia. Or if it's a deficit, that kind of language, or something is wrong, or something is broken in you. Imagine being 6 years old and hearing something is wrong with the way your brain works, and it's for life. Okay, that's heavy-duty stuff. That language is no longer used anymore because it's wrong.
It is.
And let me tell you, the answer is, if you talk to neurologists, if you talk to educators, if you talk to learning specialists, dyslexia is a difference. It's not a deficit. Okay, if that sinks in right now in the modern educational world, we claim the giant victory because it's not a deficit. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing missing. It's a difference. It's kind of like this way. I'll make this quick. In 1905, my grandmother was born, and she was left-handed. She went to elementary school, and they forced her over to be right-handed. Later in life, if you looked at her handwriting, Earle, it's tortured. You look at her hand like, what did somebody do to this person? Well, they forced a left-handed person to be right-handed. And they did that for 100 years.
Wow.
80 years. And what they found was it caused migraines, it caused stuttering, it caused anxiety. And the reason why is because they were forcing that person into a mold that had nothing to do with their identity. And it was very troubling. Okay, that system has changed. Left-handed people are treated like
left-handed people,
like regular people. There's no deficit. There's nothing broken. And so what happened was the students didn't change. The system changed. Okay, we're going through that exact same thing. The correlation here is right on the money. We're going through that same right now with dyslexia. That is, there's nothing broken. There's nothing wrong. And a teacher may say, well, how come they're making D's on tests? Well, they're in a traditional educational system that was built after the Industrial Revolution to make people a very rigid, very organized way of learning to make good workers. And so there's nothing wrong with the dyslexic. It's the context that they're put into. That's what pokes out.
Well, even like my daughter and her husband, they've got 2 kids, our grandkids, and they were both just so worried about when my grandson was born, when he started picking stuff up, and he started picking up stuff more and more with his left hand. He said, oh, he's going to be a lefty. Then my granddaughter's born, and we're sitting there going, okay, what do we got here? So that is still around.
It's still around. Yep.
And as you said, that for teachers, look for your left-handed people, children first, because they're proportionally much more as part of the dyslexia world.
And it's a correlation. It's not causal, but there's some correlation.
Yeah,
that's an indicator.
Well, and you mentioned and the books. Can they get all of the books on Amazon?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And the I think the other thing too is to have people you can talk to,
Yeah.
and say, how did you handle this, or
Yeah.
how did you help?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But all these books would benefit a parent or a grandparent or
Oh,
anybody that
absolutely.
that knows.
Particularly teachers and parents. It's very liberating. We have one of the best schools for dyslexic students in America here at the Bodine.
Yeah.
It's one of the top. It's one of the top dyslexic schools for students in America. There's 13 schools that have been identified because of the training of their teachers, and Bodine's one of them. And I'm on the board at Bodine. And one of my joys is to go there because they're my people.
Yeah.
Is to go there, and I'll be invited to a class by a teacher who's not dyslexic, and I'll be talking to students, and I'll see these students, they're just tears. And I see them freeing up. I see freedom. They're breathing. And I said they were so moved by I'm just talking with them. They said they've never talked to an adult dyslexic. Okay,
Yeah.
This is the first time that they've seen someone who's okay.
And and telling them you're okay.
Everything's going to be just fine.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be just fine.
Well, I think that's a huge part of it, because I think it's almost like you just said, they're my people, and they realize you're their people.
And the reason I'm doing, or what I'm doing, is because I was that third grader, just riddled with anxiety, throwing up before quizzes, fighting in the hallway because somebody called me a bad name, and I hated school. And a child doesn't need to live that way.
No. I did eat chili cheese dogs before class in grade school, and it made me feel better. You could eat that this morning? Yes, it is. Well, I think it's a fascinating thing. I certainly have learned to deal with. Yes.
The symposium.
Yes. The 3 books again. Let's see. The sheet. Yeah. Let's talk about the symposium.
Oh, sure.
Memphis University School.
Right.
And it's with Durant Fleming. It's on dyslexia. It's January 29th. And it's 6 to 8 p.m. and speak on the glorious struggle, how I survived and thrived with dyslexia. This has been in the Hull Lower School Dunabit Lecture.
Yeah, it's in the lower school at MUS.
And
everybody's welcome.
It's free and open to the public.
Yep.
Parents and students, and I think parents and students should attend together.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that they need to find out they're okay.
Dyslexia is very relational. It's very relational.
Yeah.
It requires depth of communication with parents. And I've talked with some kids who are 6, 8, 10 years old who are very mature in their own understanding of themselves and their relationship because they had great conversations with parents, great conversations with their teachers. It's relational. This is how you move forward. You do it relationally.
Well, and as you pointed out earlier, that when you get to somebody's passion, what they liked, and one of my passions was I loved history, and I excelled in that. And all the papers I did on history, I just had my mom to help spell check me.
You loved it.
And the other thing was public speaking. I never had a problem getting up and giving a speech in class if it wasn't about spelling or something. Book reports. I love book reports because we got to give them orally.
Yep. And communication is one of the strengths of dyslexics.
And the other thing was we'd go to the ranch, and we had the ranch for my dad, and all those guys sit around telling hunting stories. And I'm sitting there, I love that. And I said, the problem is I ain't got no stories. So that's when I started exploring the world and walking down the street, and everybody I met, I'd talk to them and say, what are you doing? Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
And it really was the basis for what I ended up doing the rest of my life, is being a reporter.
Yeah, I believe it.
So it's, I think in many ways, it is, you have to look at it as a gift. It's a gift you have to unwrap to realize.
Yes. Yeah. I liken dyslexia to the beauty of a meteorite entering the atmosphere, man. It's awesome. You've got all this light and glow and sparks, but it comes with a lot of friction. It does.
That's what makes fire.
It comes with a lot of friction. And in the traditional educational system, that's where a lot of the friction comes from. It's trying to, you're jamming a square peg into a round hole. and there's a lot of friction. And fortunately, with language is changing, this whole landscape is changing right now, and it's just exciting. There's going to be less friction of that type of friction, but I think the beauty's still going to be there, of course.
Well, and before we go, just list some of the people that have dyslexia that are extremely successful.
Oh, goodness gracious. Pick top 5 entrepreneurs in the world, and you've got them. I mean, just offhand. I mean, Carly Simon is one of the few musicians with an Academy Award. She was so dyslexic, she was riddled with anxiety. And her mother sat down with her when she was 6, 7, and said, "You're okay. We got to figure a way." And she introduced her to music.
Yeah.
And she said it was that passion, it was a curiosity. She dedicated her life to it. And now she says music was really something that really helped her in her journey. And she came to find out her daughter, Sally, is dyslexic and was distressed about it. She goes, "No, welcome to the cool club." And so Carly Simon, there's so
The
many.
guy with Virgin Airlines, Branson.
Yep. The Fonz. I mean, the Fonz is,
And Happy Days.
And Happy Days, and it goes on and
Yeah.
on. A lot of inventors, a lot of creators. Yeah.
So it really does it because they don't look at the world the same way. I think that's why I was a really good reporter.
Yep.
Because I saw things different. I'd go to something, other reporters that filed their stories, and they were nothing like mine.
And I've got a theory about why you went into this as you're unpacking your journey there. One thing is when young dyslexics, I'm talking about 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, if reading is not your thing and you're not sure what's going on academically, what you're doing is you're watching everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, you're surviving. You're watching details. And this is why dyslexic are great con people.
Yeah,
because they watch human nature. They know how people work. Matter of fact, in my last book, I give 7 different profiles of types of students where they're managing their dyslexics in different ways.
Yeah.
And one of them's called the operator. And he's got a whole network of people that work with him. He's got his own economy at school for trading food. He's got people doing homework for other people. He'll get you, if you need protection, he'll get you protection at school. He is an operator. And what it is, he learned how to do that in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade to survive.
Yeah.
He knows how people work. He knows what turns them on, what turns them off. And I know some operators like that when I was a teacher, and I go, that person's going to be running something, maybe a country one day.
Well, in fact, in high school, I talk about this a lot, is that I was always having to go get licks, but it wasn't because I did anything bad.
Yeah.
I was always observing something, and the way I described it was always hilarious to the class.
Yeah.
And so they would go, "Very interesting, Mr. Farrell. Was that worth 3?" I said, I believe it was. So we'd go get it.
Well, it was your skills of observation that led you into this industry.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, a lot of young dyslexics, if being in a word-rich environment is not your thing, something else is going to be your thing.
Yeah.
And it's figuring out people, and it's figuring out how to survive. And they're very savvy. I'll come into class sometimes, and I'll have my dyslexic student in the back, and you can, if you've taught long enough, and you're dyslexic, you can identify them in a matter, and it doesn't take long. And there's always the guy in the back. He looks a little disheveled, maybe. I don't know. He's creative. He turns in the wrong homework because he didn't do your homework. And he's buying time. It's just smart. That's smart. And he's in the back. He goes, "Dr. Fleming, I like your new shoes." Okay. That kid's hyper observant, and they'll say things like that, and those are tells.
But also totally unrelated to what you were talking about. And that was what I would do is I was bored with the subject, so I would divert the conversation.
Yeah.
It was something totally out of the blue.
Yeah.
And then they would ask me, "Well, why would you say that?" And then I had them. Then it was my room.
Right.
And so it is very interesting in looking back on all that and not knowing what I was doing then, but I was doing something.
Yeah, and one reason why there's some dyslexics that are fine writers, and one of the reasons why they're fine writers, particularly novelists, is because their attention to detail. Those little things that say volumes.
Yeah.
Those are the things that they pick up on, and it's a benefit of writing.
And it's a blessing.
Yep.
So there you are. Durant Fleming, thank you for spending time with us.
Absolutely.
And once again, the symposium is going to be this coming January 29th, 6 to 8 p.m. And that is at the Donovan Lecture Hall. And where it's located, what's the...
Out on Ridgeway and Park.
Okay.
And it's in the lower school there. It's called the Metcalf Symposium. They've been doing this for almost 30 years.
Wow.
Established by an alumni called Bob Metcalf, who's a visionary and a wonderful man.
And if they want to get in touch with you, do you have a Facebook page or website? Instagram?
Yeah, these books and other information about dyslexia that I hope is useful for the world is on Instagram.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me again.
Another great discussion. We're not bad people.
Just different.
Just different. That is our show today. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.